morning and welcome to the Point for today, Monday. It is the second day of December. And of course, on Mondays, we always have my good friend, Mr. Sylvan, the boss, McIntyre. That's how I call him. Good morning, bro.
Good morning. Good morning to our listeners, our viewers, our followers everywhere. It's a great morning. And it's a great month,
Yeah, December.
December?
Yeah.
To remember?
Yeah, December to remember.
I will certainly remember because I was born on the 17th of December.
Wow, you're a Christmas baby. Santa Claus is your father.
Well, I would not want to accuse anybody else. I would not. But, yeah. And, when I checked it out, as to quite a number of people are born in December, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you have a lot of people born in December.
So at what time of the year then you think that you would have the inoculation or the people getting pregnant?
I think I get it wrong. If you were born in September,
yeah,
it means Santa Claus is your father because from December to September is 9.
But if you have in February you have all these how do you call it? Valentine's? So check from February to December.
Yeah. It's not much.
A lot of people get together in February.
Yeah.
So coming to the end, of course, the traditional. In those times, even I think Valentine is a long tradition.
Yeah.
So and we have a lot of people born in December, and they're nice.
It's synonymous to saying, Mother's Day, which is a big celebration.
Yes.
The Mother's Day is 9 months after Father's Night.
Yes.
Sylvan McIntyre, always a joy to be with you as always. And I'm seeing this T-shirt. I'm safer. I'm safer.
Yes.
Right. And tell me what that means.
So I'm safer is the Asher McIntyre Safety Foundation for Roads. And that's the foundation that was born out of a tragic situation. And a lot of things actually fell in line after my son's unfortunate tragic passing. Immediately, I think we tried to have gotten the foundation up and running, duly and properly registered. And exactly 1 year date after he died, we had the document released for registration, official registration.
Okay.
And that was significant. So when we went down 1 year ago down at the Morris Bishop Highway, in commemoration of his death, we were able to announce that was a significant thing for us.
Okay.
That we were able to get the license to duly operate as a foundation exactly 1 year after his passing. And that's why I took solace from everything that happened, that I never questioned God and asked him why, but I did ask what you want out of this. Mm-hmm. And so when all the pieces continue to fall in line, I realized that there's some intervention that we need to make towards road safety. Okay. And this is why the movement that Grenada should be a safer place.
Now, before we get into the depth of the I'm Safer Foundation and so forth, it's been a little over a year, almost 2 years since Asher's, tragic passing. How are things progressing in terms of the legal aspect of it? How are things progressing?
Well, I'm happy that you asked the question, and because I am a witness in the case as well, there isn't a lot of depth I would want to go into it, but it's a very soaring situation. It is something that I guess our movement will move towards a change as well, that when offenses, crimes, fatalities occur, that the judicial system doesn't work in the victim's favor, in that you happen to be a victim every time the case matter comes up. And because the judicial system, the wheel rolls so slowly, it presses you, it takes you through that grinding process slowly, and it regurgitates the pain, the heartache and the feeling every time you have to go through this. And I'm sure I'm not the only person going through that situation, because it's almost 2 years and the matter has not been concluded in terms of the preliminary inquiry.
So you haven't had a first court appearance yet?
Yes, we've had court appearances. We've had a couple of them. There were about 3 witnesses who already gave evidence. There are another 3 to give evidence, like the professionals, like the doctors, the police, etc. These are the persons on slated, and coincidentally, the next hearing is scheduled for the 6th of December. So if you understand the process, there's obviously something alleged to have happened. The police needed to have done the investigation. They needed to make an arrest and prefer a charge against someone. All these were done. And then obviously bail condition had to be considered. There would be a defense attorney, and there would be a criminal and a civil process, which is basically how the system should run. And so the process of bail has to be applied for. And in the judgment of the magistrate, conditions could be very stringent, or it could be flexible. It depends on how the safety of persons and all the conditions are summed up. The magistrate would normally preside and decide what bail conditions, guided by the law, as to how that can be. So initially, the alleged person was placed on particular bail, which means that the person should not have traveled. That was one of the bail conditions. And later on, it was readjusted where the person was allowed, based on what the analysis of, or the submission from the defense attorney, to give allowance and permission for the alleged person to travel back and forth. That was accepted, and so the person who is alleged to have committed that condition, or was responsible for the death of my son, he is able to travel to and from Canada and appears in court. And I want to say that from this point, they've had no problem or at any time in him showing up to the court at the time. So that condition, I mean, I know people have spoken out about it, and it feels unfair. But for us, we have to understand what is due process and what is the process of justice. It feels definitely unfair, and it is often said too that justice delayed is justice denied. And so it's one of the things that we want to push for, that when things of a particular nature, there are crime and there are crimes, and the nature and the mitigating circumstances under which some things occur, I think those who are left and those who are victims of a particular circumstance, those conditions should be taken in terms of how people would feel. Because for us, every time this comes up, every time we attend court, it's a matter of reliving the situation all over again. Imagine you for almost 2 years, you have to go back to listen.
Yeah, the gory details.
Yeah. To listen, to go through a process. Everything just comes back. It's really not an easy situation, to be honest.
Okay.
And I want to empathize with the other people who have situations you have to go through this. I just want to, say to people, take faith, and the best we can do is trust the system for justice, and seek divine support so that you are able with your family to go through those situations, because it becomes really, really, really tough when you have to think about how your loved ones may have had their last moment or not.
Yeah.
It's really not the easiest of things. But given all of that, we want to be able to look at the brighter side of it. Those of us who are alive, we have our contribution to make towards humanity, our contribution to make towards life, and we look at what continuing intervention we can continue to make to Grenada, and to the rest.
I would like to move on from there because I can only empathize with you, and it's, as you rightfully say, it's not an easy pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Having to revisit that. So let's move on.
But before we move, I think that we have to move forcefully towards saying when if a tragic condition happen, we should try to fast forward the process of justice so that you do not create further depressions and other things to the victims. So in other words, you examine a tragedy and you would say, you know what, there are a number of persons and family who will be affected, and the more this prolongs is worse for everything. Let us pull matters together, pull things together, and within X time, the shortest possible time, get this thing on so we could move on to the next. Because every time somebody try to build, you have to go back.
So yeah, to get to some measure of closure at the earliest possible time.
Yes.
Okay.
So going back, we normally do a review in terms of where things were, and we go forward into what things should be on our programs on Mondays. And so coming out of this whole Safer the Safety initiative, we continue to look at some issues. And within the last weeks and couple of days, Innocent, the Morris Bishop Highway, I have to pass that way, unfortunately, every day.
I know what that could feel like.
Yeah. But not just passing that area, but people draw it also to my attention that when you look, one lady was telling me that she saw a young fella, a child, trying to cross the Morris Bishop Highway. And although that child is used to doing it, so he comes, he stops, he looks at the traffic up and down, he picks his moment and he speeds across the road. Just thinking about it, maybe one of these days, probably may not pick.
Miscue.
That can happen. But I also see walkers, children along that highway. As the traffic even becomes more, it becomes longer and harder to get across that highway from one side of the street to the other. And we have advocated, and we continue to advocate, and we would clamor, and I hope people would help us to press this cause, that there has to be an overpass. There should be a minimum of 2 overpass on that strip of road so that pedestrians can move from one point to the other and feel safer. And we heard earlier on this year, I think it was, there was an announcement saying that pieces for that overpass are already in Grenada. We've not seen any movement in that direction. But please, Grenada, I want us to be a bit more vocal on it. We do not want another fatality. We do not want another tragedy on that strip of road or anywhere in Grenada. One loss of life is just one life too many to lose.
Yeah.
And that strip of road, we should be moving stronger. If there is need for support, we can appeal for it in terms of technical support, material support, financing, whatever it takes to get this process so that people moving along this road could feel safer. It's something like Grenada we need to really move towards. Because every time you move, your belly rolls, it boils. To see people, I drive there all the time, as I said, every day. And you see people coming up, they would move to one part of the road, they would stop in the middle, and they would wait again, and they would skid across the road. And sometimes you would stop, you'd put your hazard lights on and give them a chance. We must move past that.
And I don't know if you've noticed that, but because in recent times it's being called the Morris Bishop Highway. In my opinion, I know what highways really are. This is no highway. But some drivers treat it that way.
Yes.
So as the moment they leave the sugar mill roundabout, they floor.
Yeah.
And it's really someone brought to my attention also, moving away from that the referred to Morris Bishop Highway, to a piece of back wall opposite the cemetery in Grandans.
Yes.
And that
wall that is perched, it's cracked and leaning towards the road. Yes,
it's an accident waiting to occur.
We spoke about that, but an aspect of road safety that I really want to highlight, and we can figure out whether or not our roads and our roundabouts. I remember one time there was some initiative to plant some flowers along that strip. Remember Morris Bishop Highway? You could have gone through it and cut across.
Yeah. And they stopped it.
They blocked it.
Yeah.
And there was one time there was a strip of flowers planted through the middle of that, and then they cut it because it obscured vision. But recently I've seen on our roundabout, and there is another roundabout called, I think, is a Carcom roundabout.
Yeah.
You've seen what's there? There's a plantation down at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Agricultural things are grown there, banana trees and blugger and so on. And I'm wondering if that is an impediment to road safety. If it obscures any vision at all, or if it makes sense that we would have plans of that nature on our roundabouts.
Well, I mean, you're a driver, I'm a driver, and years of experience, so we know that is an impediment to driving.
Oh, because you would want to, from a distance, be able to process even if you are supposed to give way to traffic on your right, but there are people who don't look out for you, and you as a conscious driver, you need to be able to look out for them. So your vision should not be obscured by anything that is intentionally put out. And if it is not intentional, then the traffic and Ministry of Works and so forth, they should have it readjusted. So I think we need to revisit that process of our roundabouts, not just at the Caracom roundabouts where we're seeing these
we have to
things grown, but they put signs and things that are grown. In some cases, I've seen some efforts to keep them at a certain level, and I think they are conscious that if they're grown, it can obscure people's vision. So I think across we should look at that and figure whether it has anything to do with road safety.
It all has to do with having an established policy on these things. But I want to go back a bit. Have you gotten any response as it relates to that wall in Grenans? Because someone met me Thursday, Friday, and said it is something that is going to be a problem, especially with the influx of the traffic in the Grenans area now.
Right.
We could have a similar incident as what happened in Hope a few years ago.
Right. I'm happy that you mentioned that, because over the last 2 weeks, we've had some torrential rain. We have the ITCC interacting with troughs, and we've had also tropical waves coming through. And that gave us some rain over some period of time. And how the rain has been falling, it is really, really, really on an easy situation. Yeah. Even as we speak now, the soil is very unstable across country. And that area that you're speaking about, it could be unsettled because we're not too sure whether the development higher up, it is regulated. We've had some houses gone on there and so forth, and we have water coming down there, and you can see portions of that hill. They slip off and come through. And you can see some of the walls, the retainers that they put, sometimes it moves to an angle. It is saying to you that there's some movement taking place. There could be aspect of liquefaction, or there could be some movement or other landslip or move that can take place. So that portion of land with that wall, it needs some serious and immediate intervention. I spoke about it about 7 months ago. That same people have brought it to our attention. We've seen no movement in that. We're hoping that with what's happening like right now, that it would draw somebody's attention that that's an aspect of safety that we need to move swiftly towards.
Okay. All right, folks, it's 20 minutes after 9 o'clock. At 20 minutes after 9 o'clock, and we need to take our first commercial break. And when we get back, we will look at the activities that you have. I remembered last year you were going around to different locations and sharing your expertise and so forth, and first aid and so forth.
Responses.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'd like to take that commercial break now. But before we go, your brother Eric says good morning as always.
Yes. Okay, he's in. He's on.
Eric, good morning to you as always.
It's good. It's good to have New York.
Yeah, we're always locked in, man.
Yes.
Folks, we'll take that commercial break. We'll be back after these messages. Don't you go anywhere.
Tourism is me. Tourism is you. Tourism is everybody, and tourism connects us all.
Did you know that tourism generates revenue and foreign exchange earnings?
Did you know it stimulates infrastructural development and facilitates cultural exchange among people?
You must know tourism is linked to all industries,
from agriculture to construction.
So support the industry today and be welcoming to all our visitors.
Tourism is my business. Tourism is your business. Tourism one and all. Tourism connects us all.
A message from the Ministry of Tourism
And the Grenada Tourism Authority.
Grenada, get ready to celebrate the magic of the season with Christmas with GBN. Starting November 4th, join us weekdays from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on GBN Television, K105 and Hot 98.
Monday kicks off with traditional stories and wellness, featuring a storytelling session with Labukan Creative Center, giveaways, nutrition tips, and live calls to share your holiday wishes. On Tuesday brings Craft Day with live and pre-recorded workshops guided by local artisans. Join us for more giveaways and connect through live calls. Wednesday features an outdoor production showcase, giving local sponsors a chance to shine from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. On Thursday, it highlights a local cuisine showcase at True Blue Bay Resort. And on Friday, it wraps up the week with live entertainment in our studio, showcasing local artists and more opportunities for live calls. Don't miss out on the joy and togetherness this holiday season. Celebrate with us on Christmas with GBN.
Coming up, it's the season for love as this movement makes a difference for yet another year. The food we're serving, cocktails flowing, and the rhythms ongoing. Welcome everyone to a truly joyous edition of Caribbean Passport. It's all next on this station.
Hello everybody, my name is Renee Goodwin and I am the marketing manager here at True Blue Bay Resort, and I am so excited to invite you all to join us every Thursday on GBN starting from November 7th as we count down to the holiday season right here at True Blue Bay Resort, Grenada's best family-friendly resort for visitors and locals.
Welcome back, viewers and listeners, to the point. Of course, you know, on Mondays it's designated to Mr. Sylvan McIntyre. He is a disaster specialist, not specializing in creating disasters, but remedying them, you understand?
Yes.
And of course, through his foundation, the Safer Foundation, the Asha McIntyre Foundation, one of the ways that the foundation gives back, I know the foundation is big on security and safety and so forth.
Yes.
So you've got this initiative that you started, I remember it last year as well. What are the plans this year?
Just again, let me express thanks to the people who supported the process last year. The bus terminus in Grenville, the staff management, the wardens, they were really supportive. And the students from TAMCC, there are group of them that I taught first aid, they will accompany us again this year, going around with this initiative. The intent is to give a gift to Grenada and give a safety gift, provide a skill or reminder to people as to how you can be a bit safer as you move around. I know that the police, the fire department, around this time of the year, they would come with safety initiative, safety in the home, safety on the streets, and they would tell you some safety measures that one can take, safety and security. But we expand this from our foundation point of view to be able to give hands-on skill to people across Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, understanding too that in December and at times when there are festive seasons like Carnival, Easter, December, etc., and as a matter of fact, throughout the year now, there are major events where the risk becomes more, violence, in some cases, they become greater, and the probability and possibilities for things to happen becomes more at festive times of the year. And so we thought it best that because Christmas is the time of giving, Jesus Christ was given to the world as a gift to be sacrificed. And so we believe that we can give Grenada a gift of safety, an intangible that could become tangible, that you can have a skill that you can save life, what a gift that someone
That's
can
a gift.
To be able to preserve a life, to be able to
gift.
prevent a situation from becoming worse, and to be able to promote recovery. That's the aim, basically, of first aid, and this is what we want to be able to do. So we recognize that people will assemble more at the bus terminus, at the marketplace, ministries, and so I think they will downstream in terms of what they do as they prepare for their budgets, etc. There'll be limited movements in those places, but it's still a mass place of movement. And so the tendency for people to also involve themselves in consuming alcohol, they would stress themselves more because people want to get more done during the Christmas time. They would stress themselves more because you want to have more money to get more things, and people would pressure you as well because in December you want to be able to be in the mood of giving gifts. And because you have all of these things, the risk becomes higher. So we thought it's an opportune time to give some safety tips, some reminders to people as to some things when they happen, what to do. So we will look at some respiratory challenges, things that people will undergo. Breathing challenges. People might be asthmatic, they might be epileptic or otherwise, or they may have just the flu or other things. They may hyperventilate for some reason or the other, or they may get into some area where smoke inhalation or some area become toxic because of fumes that may be there. We want to be able to tell people how to handle those situations. And we look at circulatory problems, bleeding, and wounds that people are likely to have during those times. Inadvertently, you may have accidents. Yeah. Somebody may fall, somebody may get a cut or otherwise, and just that little reminder could help save somebody's life. And celebrations will happen. People will consume alcohol and they would go to the beach or they may go to the river. River Lime is becoming a nice little thing in Grenada. But how many persons are trained in first aid? How many lifeguards do we have by rivers? And we saw...
Even some of the beaches don't have lifeguards.
Correct. And so we think that the more people we are able to empower with that skill, the better for us. We've seen there is some Teach Grenada to Swim initiative that's been going on. So we want to teach Grenada to do CPR at the swimming points and at points of recreation. And we, at the end of this, our foundation, through the whole safety initiative, would want to move to influence legislation so that places that have a certain amount of people, if you have a business, if you have an educational institution or otherwise, or people commute in the numbers in particular areas, we believe that certain things should be institutionalized in terms of safety. That automated external defibrillators, AEDs and so forth, they should be positioned at different spots so that if somebody collapses, you can pull on that instrument and have somebody's heart resuscitated. And so I was, KM2 Solution people, pleasant good morning to you. I had interacted with them a couple of days ago in terms of the safety in their workplace, and I brought the idea to them of ensuring that they too have AEDs, because on a day-to-day basis they have almost 300 persons moving from point A to Z. And when you have that volume of persons, you need to have AEDs. And so we are hoping that across Grenada, through our initiative, through us continuing to press it, that we are going to see AEDs placed more conspicuously, and then the numbers become greater across Grenada. So here what? The initiative is to go to the corners of Grenada. We used the bus terminus, last year. Grenville was a massive success. St. Patrick was a great success, and the bus terminus in St. George was also a success. We're hoping to make it to Carriacou, understanding what they've gone through. So in the building back process, we want to get within the building back process the safety issue when you're dealing with groups.
So it's well embedded.
So as you go back, it's holistic. So we want to be able to target the bus drivers, the taxi people, and the construction workers in Carriacou. So here what? This morning the intention is to throw this out and for people to give me a feedback, especially from Carriacou and Petit Martinique. is that initiative welcome? Is the timing okay that we can come? And would we be able to mobilize groups of persons? I just want to throw it out as well that the day of the week doesn't make a difference with us, and the time of the day doesn't make a difference. If you want it at night, we make ourselves available at night. If you want it at weekends, we will make the training initiative available at weekends. So when this program is finished, I want people to give me a call back, give me a feedback saying, we are going to be able to, and we think it's a good initiative for Carriacou and Petit Martinique. This is the better time to come. Obviously, we want to do it before Christmas so that Carriacou and Petit Martinique could get their safety gift as well. And whether there be persons who are willing to walk along with us. So we're looking for supporters and sponsors of the initiative. So if you are a retired nurse, you're a person who is training for sale or otherwise, and you want to be able to join us, please give me a call back. I'll give the number and my contact later on. And if you have a group of persons, workers, a congregation, an audience within which 20 minutes, half an hour, we can touch on the really quick snap things that can happen and give you a snap idea. You may not be able to retain everything, but a couple of things that you would be able to have that can really save a situation. So I'm making an appeal right here, right now, that for the persons who are listening, if you have a group in St. John, St. Patrick, St. Andrew, St. Mark, Carriacou, that you want us to come to be able to give this initiative, please give me a call at the end of the program. Shoot me an email. If you want to support the initiative, you have the skill set as well, you want to walk along with us, give me a feedback on that, because our intention is to be able to ensure that households, groups, and organizations, they are equipped with that skill. And I'm going to touch on a few of the tips before we end the program.
I am happy that you made that suggestion, that households. I think it should be an integral part of even from the schools.
Yes.
All right, because we have situations in schools where students fall for whatever reason, maybe not just a physical fall, but if something went wrong and teachers panic and so forth. As a matter of fact, this is very timely because I was just reading on the social media this morning that a lady was on a walk yesterday and collapsed and died.
Okay.
You understand? I'm saying, when God calls you, He calls you.
Yes.
But I'm saying if they are trained personnel that can render first aid until the more professional medical team comes, it can save lives.
Yes. So what I'm going to do, I'll give people a sneak peek into what we're going to be touching. So there might be some persons who are listening now, and I think we have a kind of almost a fixed following right now. But every week I speak and I meet people innocent, I'm finding somebody that I did not know who was tuning into us. And people are saying how much the program is meaning to them. So we are going to give, as you suggested, one occurrence or a few occurrences, how to deal with it. We realize that there seems to be an some kind of emergency situation that arising. People are saying that people are collapsing a bit more now. I don't know if it's more. And there could be various reasons for that. I've been told as well that there are people who are becoming either epileptic or they're having seizures, convulsive or otherwise. And what we found is that there are not a lot of people who are aware that if somebody collapses or they have a seizure or they are asthmatic or they begin to hyperventilate or they have a stroke that might be coming on otherwise, or they may have a mild heart attack or a serious heart attack, that there are interventions that can help save a life or prevent aspects of their members from becoming maimed or becoming a vegetable, or that they do not lose the senses or mobility in aspects of their body. Okay. Because the quick and urgent intervention could prevent a loss of life. The quick, urgent, and appropriate intervention can also save limbs and members. What we find is that when somebody collapses, the system obviously shuts down for various reasons. People need oxygen and they need nutrients. The intake of the oxygen goes through the system and it has to flow freely. A person may have limitations or restriction brought on hereditary, or they may just, it may be genetic or otherwise. So I'm speaking here now of people that have asthmatic conditions. And asthma I want to say at this point, they have not found a permanent cure. But there are medication that can relax the walls of the respiratory system that make it easier for people to breathe.
Well, I read it in the news just last week that the UK, they have found a medication now. They said that could save up to 2 million lives annually in Europe.
People who are asthmatic?
Yeah, asthmatic. When I read it, I said, well, that's good for me because I'm asthmatic.
Yes. And people have to understand that, yes, asthma is not something that is contagious, similar to that of epilepsy or seizure. People tend to believe that if somebody starts convulsing, they start shaking, or otherwise they don't want to go close to them because you can catch the fit.
It's not contagious.
People call it the fit.
Okay.
But what happens when somebody is asthmatic and they start gasping or hyperventilating and so on, the walls of the respiratory tract, it narrows. And so what it requires is something there now to relax it. And it requires the conditioner wrong to help relax that situation. So if you have the person brought, or what you can do, you remove the person from the situation, or remove the situation from the person.
From that trigger.
So the trigger.
The trigger, yeah.
So once you're able to do that, that's the first sense of an intervention. And the other thing, if a person is previously diagnosed with it, is to be able to have the inhalers. And one of the misnomers people tend to do is that once somebody has an inhaler, they tend to want to use it on everybody. Yeah. And that is not advised. Yeah. Because if you are diagnosed, you are prescribed something by a doctor, it is for you. Yeah. Despite it has worked with some people that they would take an inhaler and use, it is not advised, because that person can have allergic or other condition that what is prescribed for you may be a reaction or an allergic reaction to somebody else. So people have to be mindful of that it is not a one fit for all where medication is concerned. So for a person with an asthma attack, what one needs to do is to ensure that the surrounding or the trigger is taken away from the person, ensure that the area is well aired, ventilated and so forth, and have the person in a half-sitting position, not throwing them down on their face or on their back. And having said so, people that have respiratory challenges, 90% or more of the time, they would collapse, they would go down. But what happens is that the secondary condition, through falling or otherwise, is what sometimes becomes fatal or prolong the situation. So the best thing to do for somebody who's having an asthma attack or a seizure attack or otherwise is to support them to get to the lying position, or prevent them from knocking or hitting themselves while they're having the attack. And so if the person goes to the ground, what you want to do is to pad and support the area, because they would either vomit or regurgitate, or they may salivate really heavy. So what you want to do is not leave them lying flat on their belly or on their back, but to put them on
everything like that.
Put them on their side. And the position on the side, it doesn't matter whether it is left or right. Put them on the side, the hands on the head tilted slightly backward, one of the leg pulled slightly forward, so you get some balance. The organs are more relaxed, and if the person happen to vomit or otherwise, the substance come to the side rather than going into their face or on their back, and it comes back. That's a basic way of dealing with that situation. And you want to be able to check for the pulse on the side of the neck or in the hand some way with the fingers, not the thumb, to ensure that that person, or the back of your hand or the cheek close to their face, to ensure that they have some level of consciousness. When all that is going on, people should not take it for granted that I know so much, I'm a good first aider, I'm a medical so forth. Call the backup. Ensure you inform the hospital there is a situation. They will be able to advise us to what to do, or they may be on the way to help with that situation. But many times, people happen to be in those emergencies. A lot of people stand by not being able to do nothing about it.
And in recent times, the trend is, while that person should be assisted, we on the phone taking out pictures to post on Facebook.
Incorrect.
That's a no. Folks, we need to take a commercial break. We'll be back after these messages. Don't you go anywhere. Don't you move a muscle.
I'm Stacia Blake with GBN News. From all of us here at the Grenada Broadcasting Network, we wish you and your family a joyous holiday season filled with peace, love, and happiness. Thank you for continuing to make GBN our nation's #1 newscast. It's been our honor throughout 2024 to bring you timely updates of local and international news, and we'll continue to earn your trust as we move into 2025. We wish our beautiful island nation God's continued protection as we move forward as one people who are on one journey with one future. Happy holidays from the GBN News team.
Grenada Duty Free and GBN, we are partnering for this Christmas season. Folks, it's going to be a bumper one. We can actually start feeling the energy, the vibe will start building, the promotions that start coming in, and the fragrances, the chocolate. We have up to 15%, 20%, 40%. It's going to be a crazy one. We are looking forward to seeing you. We are ready to treat you guys special. We are ready to give back to you after this whole year of, being with us and everything and the support. So with our partnership with GBN, it's going to be a bumper season. Looking forward to seeing you guys.
Proud sponsors of Christmas with GBN includes Ace Hardware, Hubbard's, Flow, Duty Free Caribbean, and I'm Supportings.
Welcome back, viewers and listeners, to The Point with I like to call him the Honorable, he's an honorable man, all right, the Honorable Sylvan McIntyre.
Okay.
And we're talking road safety, and not just road safety, but all the health tips that you can use, the active, not reactive, on the spot influences you can have on someone who might be in an emergency.
Yes. So as we speak, we have the traffic situation that would increase. We have cooking and so forth that will also happen. And we also have sometimes the consuming of alcohol create a tendency for violence. And whether you want it or not, somebody may have an accident or somebody may have an intentional wound, a stabbing or otherwise, and bleeding will occur. So we're going to use this segment while we would have people maybe calling and give their little feedback on it.
And folks, you know the numbers, 435-2041. Call in now and join in on the conversation on To The Point.
So when there is a bleeding situation, I like to refer to it as if you have a container that has liquid in it, if you give it a small punch, the liquid or the fluid will come out slowly. If you give it a large slice or incision on it, it's going to flow heavily. Similar with the body. If you have a puncture, it's going to bleed. If you have a large one, it's going to bleed heavier. And so any bleeding needs to be controlled. I don't use the word stop the bleeding because people tend to get a different meaning. You don't need to stop the bleeding. You need to be able to control the bleeding because the blood needs to get from one point to the other. So prevention and reducing the severity of an injury would eventually lead to saving somebody's life. So when there is a bleeding situation, what you want to do, viewers, listeners, and everybody else, is to be able to apply pressure and a covering to that wound. That's basics. That's fundamental. Irregardless of what the situation may be. Once there is a bleeding situation, your intention then is to prevent or to limit the excessive loss of blood. And your first intention is to be able to apply direct pressure to the area where the bleeding occurred. The next thing you want to do is to apply a dressing. A dressing is anything that is used to cover a wound. And a bandage is anything that is used to keep the dressing in place.
Okay.
And you may have a two-in-one. You may have a dressing and a bandage that you can buy or otherwise. But a simple piece of cloth, a T-shirt, a diaper or something of that sort, you can use it, wrap it up to minimize the loss of blood. That will save somebody's life. So it is not a rocket science. People run away from blood, they run away, that person is bleeding too much. But if you allow the person to continue to bleed,
they will die.
They will
die. Because blood is life.
They would go into a state of shock, and eventually they will die.
That's referred to a hypovolemic shock?
Well, hypovolemic shock is one of the types of shock that people, is the most common one, meaning that you obviously lose too much blood.
Yeah.
Right? So hypo means that hypo is low. Volemic seems like the volume of what exists within the system. It simply means that there was insufficient fluid in our blood to keep the vital organs alive. I made this point before that the body does not need all the blood to function. You know that?
Yeah, it could operate on
it just needs sufficient to keep the organs functioning, some of the organs functioning.
And so that
for a particular time,
oxygen gets to them and everything
until it gets to the second either to doctors or to a medical health facility. So the intervention that is required when there's a bleeding situation is to ensure that either with your fingers or the heel of the hands, you apply direct pressure and you put a dressing on it, wrap it up. You check for circulation after you've done that. If the lower extremity, the legs or foot or so, is the place that you did the dressing on, put the person lie down and elevate it slightly. If it is the arm, the upper arm, or otherwise, you elevate it and check for circulation at the extremity. Always ask the person how they feel. If they say it's cold, it's feeling as though something is joking me, it means that the dressing that you put on may have been too tight. So you want to release that a little bit, even if you see some blood sipping through. In some cases, you may put a dressing on and it gets soaked through all the second one. If the second one also gets soaked through, take off both of them and apply a new dressing, because in the first instance you may not have done a good job in putting the pressure on it. So that's one of the, you may have situation where excessive cooking, electrical things are exposed and people may get burned. So what do we do for burn? You have 3 levels of burn. You have a first, a second, and a third degree. Obviously the third degree is where it goes deep down into the subcutaneous tissues. The bones and those tissues get burnt out. The second level, degree 2,
second degree burning,
you get just into the tissues and so forth. The first degree burn is superficial, just a scar over the skin. It gets red. It decolors the epidermis and so forth. That is nothing too critical otherwise. But whether it's a first, second, or third degree burn, what is required is you cool the area down.
That is where you use ice?
You use cooling, not necessarily ice. You may have to go to ice. It depends on how their situation is assessed. But what you want to be able to do is to use graded temperature. You start with regular water and you can drop the temperature as you go along. You don't want to do an extreme all at once, because you can create an anti-situation by moving from one extreme to the other immediately. So you grade the situation. So once there is a burning or a burn, what you need to do is to cool the area down. And water is perfect for that. You could add some ice later on and cool, and then you can have an ice pack where you further cool it down. That is the process of dealing with a burn. Not putting grease on it, not throwing mud on it, not just sticking some mallows or some other things and just throwing it or some flour. That is not advised. All right? Something happened in the home, in some place around where somebody gets a burn, your intention is to cool it down. If you have a really serious burn where we are now referring to clothes are charred into the area, it gets stuck and so on, don't try to pull it out. Just cut around it, leave that portion there and put a loose dressing over that, just that you prevent infection from taking place. So you don't want to submerge a person with a serious burn into water otherwise. You want to just put a loose dressing to keep it nice. Keep it covered, keep it nice and cool. That is what is required. Now you may have a situation where you may have chemical burns or otherwise. Same process, but what one needs to do, if there you suspect there is chemical burning or otherwise, always there is indications on the can or container that the chemical may have come in and it says exactly what to do about these chemical burns and how it should be treated.
Okay. All right, folks, it's 9 minutes on to 9 o'clock. We will accommodate your calls if you have any suggestions. As you heard Mr. McIntyre said, he is open for volunteers and support for the Safer campaign and so forth. You can call in, but it's important that we share our information, so this is the time when you can do that.
So you need to get in touch with me to be on this wagon or this train where we're going to bring a safety gift across Grenada. You can call me on 405-7451, or you can shoot me an email at sylvamac.biz@gmail.com. Again, sylvamac, SYLVAMAC .biz@gmail.com. Or our Safer email would be Safer, AMSAFOR 1301@gmail.com.
Okay. All right, folks, I do hope that you have those contact information. The telephone number again?
405-7451.
405-7451. Someone says here, persons have to not be afraid in emergency situations. A lot of time something pops up and people panic.
That's a normal human reaction. Panic is normal human reaction. Mm-hmm. But the more knowledge will help to calm you down a bit so that you don't panic that much. And experience is the other factor that will help you not to panic. Because most people who get into an emergency, as a human being, your reaction is not to be able to think that freely, and it's because you're panicking. Another
concern, right? Ever so often you would hear from people like yourself or some people in emergency departments that if there's an accident per se, let's assume a vehicular accident, you're advised not to move the victims because you can create more damage.
Yeah. I am happy that you raised this. I've heard it every time I teach a class related to first aid and moving of persons. It is not locked in stone that people should not be moved, but they should be moved once you know how to move them. And common sense is not something you can teach in a classroom. But it makes good sense that if there is a situation where you figure it is worse for the person, they're lying in something, it is coming into their face, they may have a fracture otherwise, and you leave them there and they can suffocate, they can die, you can move them. But one has to understand, these are the parameters. If there is a serious accident, seem to be a crushing, or there seem to be a collision or a fall, assume spinal injury. Once you assume the worst case, that there is spinal injury, what you need to do is not to move the person with something that is soft or flexible, but you get something sturdy, like a piece of board, a piece of table or otherwise, and get them onto it. So there is actually the right way of moving persons, so it is not that because an accident has happened that you should not move them. There are a couple of factors involved. One, it may be the scene of a crime, and the police may need to be able to do the investigation. So if you're going to move somebody, you need to know the appropriate way to move them.
Okay.
And if you move, you must take notice. That's where you take pictures for that purpose, because one, you don't want somebody to unnecessarily claiming or suing you for something that you did not do. So you take picture and note the things, how it was. And the second reason, because everything that seemed to be an emergency or an accident may not necessarily be, it could also be the scene of a crime. So you don't want to damage or tamper with the scene of a crime because the police would come to do an investigation. So movement should be minimal. It should be structured, it should be organized, and you should know what you're doing. But if you don't know what is the best thing to do, you can ask somebody, or you may pick your best chance on the situation based on what you perceive could be the better thing to do. And we've seen people die because other people say, don't touch them, don't move them, or because they don't know the right thing to do. But as I said, a starting point, once somebody may have fallen or otherwise, or there might be an accident, collision, or a crushing situation, assume that there is spinal injury. And in this case, you need not to just move them on a piece of blanket or on a flexible stretcher, but get something that is sturdy like a wood or board, and you can move them. So you can move people.
Okay. All right, folks, it's 4 minutes away from 10 o'clock. At this time, we take a final commercial break in the program. We'll be back for the wrap. It's To The Point.
Coming up, it's the season for love as this movement makes a difference for yet another year. The food we're serving, cocktails flowing, and the rhythms ongoing. Welcome everyone to a truly joyous edition of Caribbean Passport. It's all next on this station.
This holiday season, get ready for a magical celebration packed with culinary delights, crafts, and music that will bring joy to your heart. But that's not all. Lots of giveaways are waiting for you. Stay tuned and make this Christmas one to remember only with GBN. Looking to take your business to new heights? Advertise with GBN on our social media platforms and get noticed by our 138,000 plus followers. Reach a massive engaged audience ready to connect with your brand. No matter your business size, GBN is here to help you grow. Contact us today at admin@gbn.gd or WhatsApp 407-8458 to get started.
Welcome back, viewers and listeners. Final moments of the To The Point program for today. Mr. McIntyre, any parting words?
Yes, I would like to just invite our viewing, listening, following public that this is the festive season and the chances for emergencies to occur happen to be greater. Accidents are likely to occur, but the way you react and respond to it is critical. Your urgent, timely intervention could save a life, or it could prevent the situation from really becoming worse. It is important to have some aspect of first aid or some tips that you can use that can help in that area. The Arm Safer will be giving a gift to Grenada, a safety gift, a skill that one can take. Call us. Let us know. We'll be in your area teaching you how to respond or to deal with emergencies that are likely to occur. The bottom line, be safe always. If it feel unsafe, smells unsafe, it is very likely to be unsafe. Take a time to deal with it in the best way it should be dealt with.
And for the folks who want to contact you, how do we do that again?
Again, email silvermac.biz@gmail.com, or you can call me at 405-7451.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre, once again for your timely intervention and contributions on Mondays. We look forward to having you throughout the season. We know we would need your services.
My pleasure all the time, always, to Grenada.
Thanks. Folks, that's it. To the point for this morning. Have yourself a great morning. The mid-morning Christmas with GBN is up next.